Recording started. There we go. Okay, hi everybody. Peter Wilson here again, and I have a special guest with me today, which is Gavin Bird. Friend, he's got his own channel now on You Are Not in Debt on YouTube. So what I want to do is introduce Gavin and have him give himself a little bit of an introduction, a background on himself. How are you doing there, Gavin?
Hey Peter, yeah, good. Thanks for having me on. So I'm kind of new to this kind of putting my face out there type of thing. But I think like a lot of people, about 2 years ago, obviously with the big C hitting, I woke up and then some. And it came in a flood for me. This all this truth of the illusion that we've been living in, and I pretty much straight away said, right, screw it. Up yours to the system and stop paying everything. And everyone then piled on top of me. So, pretty quickly I was kind of in this situation like, right, how do I deal with this? And that kind of started getting me into law. And then I discovered equity and trust and everything else. And one of those that piled on me was to do with bankruptcy. So I feel like I cut my teeth there because that really got me the exposure to the realities of this system that we're in. And in doing that, I started getting into the council tax. And I wouldn't say I had outright success, because there's a journey that we've got to go on with learning this stuff. You're never going to just get it in a day. So I've always been willing to back myself, and I thought, right, I know that ultimately truth will win. Let's just give it a go. So to be truthful, I got battered and bruised a little bit going through all of that. Definitely some moments where I thought, am I doing even the right thing here? But I carried on. And so we're talking about tax year 2019 to 20. I guess I had a win, but I wouldn't say it was a conventional win. I got to a point where the head of revenue. Right, so let me backtrack. Sorry, in case you don't know this, guys. If this is the first time you're watching this, there's nothing legal with regards to what the council were doing on council tax. It all comes down to enforcement using a liability order. And the simple truth of it is, forget everything you're seeing online, evidence my obligation, all this stuff, all that's relevant, but it comes down to one single thing. The legal form that they used to use for the issuance of liability orders, Form A, was discontinued in 2003, and it's never been replaced. So the simple question is, how are they issuing these liability orders? And when I discovered that, that's kind of where I focused my efforts on. But that took me a while to just put all this together. So the first year in, I knew that the magistrates court, which is a criminal court, so this shouldn't even be there in the first place, because this is a civil matter. Essentially, it's a debt. I'm not going to say they hire, but they have this venue for the day specifically for council tax, which means it's not a court of record. Now, if you're going into these courts, whether it be civil or criminal, there are procedure rules that have to be followed. Nothing can be heard in court unless it's done on proper form, i.e. Form A for the liability order. So when I started understanding all of this and really understanding the rules that should be followed that weren't being followed, I started to start asking questions. And I got it to a point where the head of revenues basically confirmed to me that he had the power and authority to adjourn this summons hearing that I'd been summoned to. And I knew that he didn't. So I then had the court confirm that they have nothing to do with anything. But I also had the procedure rules that said he couldn't do that. So in that situation, I didn't go to court. I just had a one-on-one. In simple terms, that hearing didn't take place. And then they zeroed the bill. And then they do get up to a lot of shenanigans. They try to basically go after my partner instead of me. I dealt with that. That was zeroed. And then I didn't hear anything about it. I thought, okay, that's good. I just sat and waited. And then obviously the next bill was issued for the next year. And here we go again. But this time around, I was a little bit better armed because I had the knowledge and I learned what I'd done wrong last time. So I just cracked on. And long story short, guys, it just comes down to one simple thing. Where's the liability order? So, we can use these data subject access requests, and if you don't know, the Data Protection Act, it's so powerful for us, because the bottom line is we own our data and information, and this system that we live in, this matrix, cannot operate without using our data and information. And so that's a very simple fact. So you can use these DSARs to maximum effect. Now, there's a lot of templates out there these days, but it just comes down to the one thing. where's my data and information contained within the original liability order? Now, if you DSAR a court and ask for that information, they will categorically confirm that it does not exist. They hold nothing on record of you simply because on that day, it is not a court of record. So you've got an absolute irrefutable fact confirmed by the MOJ and the court themselves. And then the same thing then goes to the council. Where's the data and information and liability order? And they don't have it because they're not the ones allegedly issuing these liability orders. So there's a little bit more to it, but that's the general gist of it. Where's the liability order? So it doesn't stop them enforcing and doing the things they do. So you've got to hold them to account for this stuff. If you just sit back and do nothing and let them carry on, then they will do what they do and steamroller you. And I've heard some really awful stories about it. But the bottom line is it's that. Where's the liability order? There isn't one. So, and I think one other thing I would say, guys, is you've got to be prepared to litigate, and you've got to put in the study and get yourself in a situation for that end goal. Because these folks, and I've learned this the hard way, if you think just sending in a DSAR and a few different notices is going to just stop it, it won't. You've really got to push these people and hold them to account. And ultimately, you know, I've done that with success, just getting on a phone call and collating evidence and really giving them nowhere to go with it. Under these rules, council tax rules, you can get this book on Amazon. It details all of the procedures and rules they have to follow internally that they also don't abide to, but it does confirm that they have the literal power to push the button and zero everything. So, you know, it depends on who you are and what sort of character you are, but the bottom line is that you've got to be prepared to litigate. Don't just think sending in a few DSARs is going to make it go away, because it won't. But that's basically it.
So the first one that you did you say it was 2019, 2020? That was the first time that when you just stopped everything and then you went in after the council then?
Yeah.
So they zeroed your bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what did they do then? Did they try and just put the whole bill onto your partner and try and do it that way? Is that what you said? And then
basically just decided they went after her.
Right.
So we I won't say how we dealt with it, but we dealt with that. And then they obviously, that bill was zeroed, or that bill was essentially zeroed. They issued a new bill just in my name, and then the whole thing started again. And that's kind of really where I joined the dots and had to win.
So the next bill came like 2021 then, 2020 to 21.
Yeah.
And but then you've obviously got the experience and the knowledge then that what you've done previously and use that, you know, for the next one as well. Is that correct?
Essentially, that's it. Yeah. And I think the thing for me, like when I was first getting into it, that there's a lot of information out there, isn't there? There's a lot of different channels. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. Where I went wrong was I was doing everything. I was trying everything, and it became chaotic. And that also, it's really hard to learn when you've got all these different bits of legislation trying to use, and you don't know what is what. I had the kind of penny drop moment when I kind of thought, well, what's the weakest link? What's the Achilles heel? You know, and as I say, it just comes down to the liability order, really. You could say the summons, because that's on the same basis. You know, it's not going through the court. There is no court case management file, guys. You can request that with a DSAR. It does not exist. So how is this a legal process? It's not following any procedure rules. So yeah, sorry, Peter. Long story short.
No, that's great. That's, you know, that's what we want people to know. Obviously, you just said there, like the weakest link. That's perfect, really, because when you're dealing in this situation, right, the way that you've done it, I think, is very like sort of like clever, because you're like actually analyzing what they're doing and what they can attack with. You see, like a lot of people said they've got a well-oiled machine on this litigation side, whereas although it is fraudulent, it's so blatantly fraudulent, but they do it and they just push hard. But and there is people that get successes as well that we hear anyway. But by doing what you've done, by like finding out, well, we know that weak link by the court of record is on the summons or the liability order. All right, so you've gone for like attacking the liability order, but it just stops them in the tracks, you know. And if you do it correctly, this is the let's say this is the issue that a lot of people have, is that they want like a silver bullet where you just do one thing and then everybody leaves you alone. right? And you just said it there, that isn't going to happen. You have to actually stand up, and you have to stand in your power, right? And once you've got the knowledge, you've got to be prepared to use it. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
100%. And I think there's that. I mean, I'm saying this to a lot of people. This isn't about just not paying the council tax and learning how not to do that, or not paying the credit card bill or anything like that. We're at this moment in time where I think we can all, certainly I think the folks watching this know that there's some evil going on, right? We're in a bad situation. And so this isn't just about that. It's kind of like whether you want to comply to that evil or whether you want to push back and, as you say, stand in your truth and understand who we really are, understanding that we're beneficiaries and we're in equity. I mean, that was this massive mind-blowing moment when I kind of discovered that. And it doesn't initially make any sense or impact you. Like, we now know, if we say that we're in equity, we're beneficiaries, we understand the power that holds. But initially it was like, well, I don't even really know what that means. And it took a few it wasn't even months, it took a lot longer than that and it's still kind of taking some time to really embed, so that I really can understand that we are beneficiaries and we have the power. They don't have the power. And there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that they use in this system, because people always say, well, how do they do that? How can they put you in prison? How can they do these things? They can do these things because they do these things. And if you don't stand up, they will do these things. And to your point, it's about standing up now. It's about saying no more and learning who we are and then doing something about it. And I think if more of us do that and enough of us do that, slowly but surely we remove the bricks from the matrix and the whole thing just crumbles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, the thing is that we are like in a spiritual war. It's exactly what we're in, and they're attacking us on every front now. Now, if you look at everything, the last 2 years has just been ridiculous, and it's like attack after attack after attack, and all it is literally pushing us down. Like I'm talking about like our morale. Okay, so they're crushing the morale, making everyone depressed and miserable because that's what they live on. All right. A lot of people call it the illusion, the misery, and it's keeping everyone down. And then, the thing is, like, a lot of people as well, they think that they're helping by, like, sharing, oh, this disaster happened and this disaster. And it's like fear porn getting thrown at you from your own side, which certainly doesn't help. It does like keep everybody more miserable. So what we have to do, right? This is why I've got you on, because I want, other people to like get in contact with you, reach out to you and start fighting back. I've been doing like my channel for a while and showing people the remedies on how to actually fight back and how to stand up against these people and what they're doing, because there's definitely two sides. Now, all right, fair enough, you've got the governments and everything. Well, we know they're not really governments, but they are this group of people that think that they're above us. But they've got all of the, I call them like the little flying monkeys off the Wizard of Oz, right? So there they all are, and that's them, the debt collection and the police and everything like that. They are policy enforcement officers, right? All there just to collect revenue on behalf of the corporation. And you can see it, that there's all the Wizard of Oz or the witch, all the evil is up there, sending out the flying monkeys to do all the dirty work. And it's just time that a lot more people started to stand up. But you've got to be able to do it correctly. Like you just said there, you can't send off one little notice and everyone's going to run away and leave you alone. It just doesn't work like that.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, just to share, guys, and not to put you guys off, but I mean, I've been speaking to some people when I've been hearing some real horror stories, and I'll give you one example. And this was for less than 5K outstanding council tax, and they went ahead and bankrupted this woman, and she didn't even know about it. Okay, now I've got a bit of experience now with bankruptcy, having done it myself, right? And the first she knew was when she was out shopping in Tesco's and her cards wouldn't work. And long story short, they literally seized everything, bankrupted her, and now they're trying to take her, repossess her rental portfolio. This is something she's been building up for years for retirement, and that has well over a million in equity in that portfolio. Originally over less than 5K bill. This is just how crooked the whole thing is. But how do you even justify that as fair? And so she's obviously, we're starting to deal with that now. Just so you know, with bankruptcy, even that has rules. There are rules they have to follow to bankrupt somebody. You have to be served the statutory demand, and you have to be served the bankruptcy petition, and you have a right to defend yourself. She had none of it. Now, the good thing I've discovered with this is because they don't basically follow the rules, it's very easy to unpick and win. Because with the bankruptcies, they haven't done that. So, we're requesting, where is the stat demand? Where is the petition? Where is the case file? We know that stuff doesn't exist. So it's very similar to the actual council tax process itself. Again, it comes back to the same thing. Where's the liability order? Everything that's happened thereafter is done on the basis that there's a liability order. And we know that doesn't exist. So therefore, all of this other stuff can be undone. Doesn't mean it's going to be simple. But to Peter's point, you've got to be prepared to stand up and take what, sometimes you're going to take a few knocks and hits along the way. But for me personally, I just feel that this moment in time is it's bigger than any one of us individually, and it's bigger than just saying, screw you, I'm not paying the council tax. We've got to put the time and the effort in to learn who we are, and not fight back with violence, but fight back lawfully, and do what we've got to do in the system.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, I've seen a lot of comments before on different things, on groups, my group as well, and you don't know who's who or what's what. And we do know that there are literally paid shills to go out there and disrupt things and to
I've
put
got them
people
now,
on, and to lie about things. And somebody put up the other day that says, like, oh well, why shouldn't we pay council tax? Because the people working for the council, they all need their wages. The people digging the roads up, like fixing the town or whatever, they need their wages. That's got nothing to do with it. The people that work for the council, for instance, they're cutting the grass, they're fixing a road, or doing those types of jobs, they're going to get their wages no matter what you do. So, like, I had a friend who was a councillor for a while and didn't last very long because he was questioning the council tax and the amount of excess that they have that's all invested. They invest these funds and make fortunes. So in reality, when you're looking at it, from what he was telling me as well, just on experience of being on the council, we shouldn't have to pay anything because of the amount of excess funds that they've already got. It's all a scam. But the points, and the people saying, oh well, they need their wages. This money that you pay, it doesn't go to pay their wages. This money that they're taking off you, your council tax, all right, all of your tax, anything like that, it's there just to keep you miserable, keep you poor. Now, the amount of money that gets taxed that you just don't even realize it, because a lot of it is stealth, it's hidden. You pay if you are in a job and you are working like 9 to 5 or whatever, or long shifts and everything, you're going to pay income tax. They take it off you before you get it, before you see it.
Yeah.
Right. So then you take that money and say, well, I need to go and put some petrol in the car. About 90% of that is tax.
Yeah.
All right. So, like, and if you just want to go out and enjoy yourself, you go out and you get a pint of beer or whatever it is. I'm speaking to landlords and they say, like, it was about like 70% of that is tax. The profits are minimal because of this, so, and that's you paying tax. So then you go and buy other stuff that you need, and it's all taxed. All of it, even the goods coming into the country, everything's taxed. It's got nothing to do with who paying the council's wages. It's got nothing like that at all. This is about stopping corruption. That's what it's about. So we're not trying to steal money from anybody. It's exactly the opposite. We're trying to stop them stealing. Well, it's not even money. It's just currency. We're trying to stop them stealing it from us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. I mean, it's that. I don't know if you've seen that pyramid. It's out there as a pyramid, and at the very bottom, it's got us as the debt slaves. And that's essentially what this system's about. When there's no money, as you say, it's all currency and cash, but everything filters to the top. And they do that. I mean, even the inflation that we've got going crazy. I mean, that's kind of another form of tax. People think that things are going up in price. That's not true. The value of the currency is devaluing, which is why you've got this big disparity. A big what's the word? Disparaging. You know what I'm trying to say, anyway.
A big gap.
A big gap. Big difference. But,
yeah.
I mean, that's. Sorry, go on, Peter.
I'm just saying about like the pyramid thing, well, on here, right? This is what they actually have. And they do try and put us down here. But in reality, what we have is, we were talking about this yesterday, actually, weren't we? It was like, we've got the creator. Now, you can call him whatever you want, whatever name you want to do it. God, I would like to say either the creator or Big Bob. Okay. Now, just he's above. Okay. Or she, whatever. The creator is there. And like the next thing down, created, okay, in his image is what the Bible is us. Man is there. Okay. So man, that created society. Right, so society to help it run created governments, all right, and the governments created the public servants. So that's how it goes down. They've got it, so it's like that, and you're putting themselves at the top and us at the bottom. We need to get it back. We need to go back up there again.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing these things, right? Now, the thing is as well, and they also said, I've seen this guy go on and he was talking a lot about like how ridiculous common law is. I mean, the thing is that there is no such thing as common law that can protect you in that way. So, it's ridiculous to shout for it or against it. Right? There is law, and the law is a law. So we have natural law, which comes from the creator, right? But what we're dealing with on the council tax side, what Gavin's talking about there is statutory legislation. So they've set up their own rules to make it work and then break them all.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't even look. They don't even run their own game correctly. Is that
true? Yeah, and it's what even blows my mind when you get on the phone to these employees, and they're oblivious. Like they have no comprehension of what they should and shouldn't be doing, other than what they've always done. So even in the council, I mean, for me, there's a distinct lack of even training of the basics of law, because they didn't even. I've done it where I've just put simple questions to them about legislation and procedures, and you just draw blanks, or then they just. I mean, I got to the point where they literally refused to deal with me. They didn't want anything more to do with me, and that blows my mind, because you've got these individuals that are enforcing this stuff that have no idea of the rules they're supposed to be following to enforce it. And that does make me question, actually, at a deeper level, like what if you're that individual you're in the council right now and you're working within council tax, you must know something's wrong with what you're doing, right? If you're one of the individuals involved in bankrupting these individuals, you must know that that's wrong. I'm not calling anybody out, but I mean, come on, I just don't see how you can be doing that and not at least questioning something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, when you're doing that type of thing. I mean, like, you've seen people are like literally at their end of it, at their end of their tether, nearly finished. You're looking at like suicide rates flying up, and it's not just all because we're all locked down, although that was a big thing, like ridiculous for the last couple of years. But they've got to take some kind of accountability, some kind of responsibility for what they are doing, because it is their actions. Now, you can say, this guy, somebody sent me a video last night. I just quickly watched it. And it was like a bailiff there, and he was clamped a car, and it was on private land. Well, you're not allowed to do that at all. So the guy rang the company. So what are you doing? This is on private land. And when the guy come and took it off, he was, for whatever reason, still saying that he was right for doing it, even though he was taking it off. And then when this, and what he said, well, you're on private land, you can't come on here. And he says, well, look, I'm just doing my job.
That's not good enough these days. That's just not. You can't say that anymore, can you? That's like the policy officers doing the same thing in the lockdowns, and that they were just doing their job. We're all humans. We have an understanding of what's right and wrong, and I think it should just come down to that basic question: is it right or is it wrong? Is it fair or is it not? But they do what they do, and that's why we're doing these chats and doing the things that we're doing. I've got to say, Peter, actually, just as a side note, I mean, a big part of my learning these last 2 years actually was watching your stuff. I discovered equity and trusts by watching your videos. And I don't know if you actually, maybe, do you want to sort of open up on that a little bit, just because that was the big thing for me in piecing together how this matrix works, was understanding that there's this sort of jurisdiction called equity, that we're beneficiaries, and that everything's basically a trust, and that we even create most of the currency that's in circulation. And
that is the fact, and people find that that aspect really hard to grab hold of, and you can't really blame them. You know, the biggest one I've always say was like, look, this money's fake, it's not real, it's just a scam. And they're like, well, I've just went and bought something with this, so, and the thing is that it's like there is no intrinsic value in this fiat currency. So, and the word itself, fiat, if you look on Blacklaw's dictionary, I think it was the 8th edition, but it is in one of them, and it says fake. Fiat means fake. So, and it's a fiat currency. And there's been many fiat currencies that were before this one, and all of them have all returned to their real value, which is zero. And what you just mentioned before about the inflation, which is completely fake as well. All right, because they're printing so much money, and that what they're doing when they're printing this money, they're actually what they call money, the currency, right? They're actually devaluing its power. Really, so that's why it's like what you've got this pound coin, pound note, whatever it is, like it can't buy what it used to buy because there's too many of them. That's a simpler way of putting it.
Yeah.
But on the creation of it, i.e. the credit, this is where it comes into the trust aspect of it, as this is all a trust. And I have done a few videos like going right the way back to when they were started first creating the trusts, and how there's trusts and trusts and trusts and trusts that they've done to like have us in this matrix. And all it is this complete and utter hologram that we're in. Now on the money side, which is why I like to fight on the debt side, all right, these people, when you go and apply for a loan, it could be a personal loan just at your bank, or even a mortgage, right, or credit cards are exactly the same. You create the credit. So what you're doing when you go in, for instance, make it simple, make it a bank loan. You go in and sign for a bank loan. What you're doing, you're actually signing a promissory note. So what they do is they take that note and they deposit it into their account. And what they do is they actually, I got somebody sent me the very, very small print on their mortgage document the other day, and it said that by signing, you give permission forever, for now and forever, for us to securitize this instrument. It's actually got it written on. But if you read it, if you don't know the knowledge of it, you go, I don't know what that means, right? Securitizing an instrument. We're going to play guitar. It doesn't make sense unless you know what they're talking about. And so you actually sign giving them permission to securitize the instrument. So you have signed a financial instrument. Now that instrument, they then go and sell it on the securities exchange. So that money that they actually get from investing that financial instrument, they then actually put into their own account and pay you what you think is a loan, but they actually give the money that they've sold your instrument that you signed for, and that's the money that you're going to get. And then if you listen to the words and everything and the language that they put onto the documents, they ask you then to repay, because it's already been paid. You can't redo something unless it's already been done. So once they've sold it, everything's settled. You have not borrowed a penny, and then they want you to repay the whole thing again with interest, with the interest added. So just, do you think that sounds fair?
Absolutely not.
I don't think that sounds, it's definitely not equitable, is it?
No.
So that is why we challenge, because again, it's really weird. Why would people say, oh, if you got debt, you should pay it? If you have got debt, you should pay it, but it's impossible to have debt. All right, there can't be debt. You create the actual credit, and because we are in this trust situation, a lot of people, what is it? You call it your set a KV trust or whatever, and people think it's worth billions, and you can go stick it all in your bank. Really, what you have is unlimited credit, and you create the credit by signing the loans and stuff like that. But you just don't realize what they're doing in the background, and basically screwing you over big time, really.
Absolutely, and that's kept humanity suppressed, hasn't it? Really, and for me, when I learned that truth, that was the reason I just said no, and kind of why I decided to push back, because you can't argue with that truth. It's absolutely irrefutable fact. And if they have a financial system where they're literally doing that to suppress humanity, I mean, where does that stop? And that's why you get to the matrix of evil and control, and why we're doing the things that we do now, and that's why we've got to end it.
Exactly. So, I mean, in reality, everybody looking at the last couple of years, we know what's went on. We know what they were trying to do, and obviously lock everyone in. So you had these massive protests, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong in doing that, right? If people want to go out and march, right, that's great, you know, and do what you want, and everybody's free will and everything. But what you should keep doing once you've finished your march, once you've done whatever you've wanted to do, when you go home, is to continue the fight.
Yeah.
Now, really, yeah, okay, they didn't even put it on the news. So, like the vast majority, let's call them the normies, right, that are sitting in the house and they're watching television, right? They're waiting for the news, Sky News or whatever, to come on, the BBC, to tell them the truth, to tell them what's going on in the world. And you know, all this garbage there pours out of it, but not one time did they say, "Oh, look, there's the 2-3 million people just marched through London, because they're all pissed off." You didn't see that, did you? You know, like even all of the truckers going up in Canada, you know, you didn't see any of that, right? They're not going to tell you what they don't want you to know. So, you know, what you got to do is you've got to be able to keep the fight going. So once you've finished your march, when you're going back, right, hit back then. Let's stop fighting on the council tax. Stop paying like all of these utility bills while they're increasing it. They're not increasing it for any reason apart from they want to hurt you. All right. The prices of gas and electricity, you know, like hasn't increased miraculously for some reason. It's like, oh wow, let's go, you know, they're just doing it on purpose. They were increasing the fuel costs and everything like that, you know, well before they declared this war was happening in Ukraine and Russia. And then all of a sudden, they even said it on the news, well, we don't even get our gas from Russia. Well, so why have you increased the fucking price then?
Exactly.
Well, you know, but people are saying, oh, no, I'm paying too. Oh, you know, we know that what they're trying to do. It's just about like trying to hurt you. That's all it is. That's all it's for. So we have to like realize that we're actually fighting a system that wants to kill you.
That is the literal truth. And I think just to kind of carry that thought on, one of the things I'm seeing in folks that I'm talking to is that they're still making decisions as if that old reality is still real. They're still thinking about their credit score and, you know, what if that gets damaged? How am I going to get a mortgage in the future? All these different things, right? And it's kind of like, guys, that reality was never real in the first place. It's the situation is there's a mass genocide going on and they're trying to kill us. That's the reality, right? So we've got to accept that reality and then make decisions based on that reality. Don't go thinking about the house you think you're going to buy in the future. Then this property market's going to stay buoyant. That bubble's about to burst in a big way. You know, we've got to understand that we are in a war. To your point, Peter, it's spiritual, absolutely, but it also hurts. People are getting wiped out with what's going on, and so individually, as a collective, we can do something. And it's kind of like you. And again, I'm not saying how people should think, but for me personally, I feel like I've got a duty to humanity, right? I've got a duty to my kids and the world that they're going to inherit from me. And I don't want to be one of those individuals that in the future, whatever that future may hold, when they say, "What did you do at this moment in time?" Nothing. I carried on paying my bills and just being a good little citizen. That
Mm.
how can you do that right now? If not now, when the hell do we do this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you say that being a good little citizen. See, that's the thing, really, because I think most people want to be good. You know, you know, obviously you've got a criminal element no matter what happens ever, but like in general, right? Most people just want to be good. What they really want is fairness and equity, and to be left alone and minding their own business.
Absolutely, yeah,
Really.
yeah,
But you know, the fact of the matter is, they're not going to allow that to happen.
yeah,
They are interfering in our business and our privacy. Everyone has the right to privacy. We should all be left alone in our private homes doing our private things, right? And we have got no duty or right, you know, or you know, that they have the right to demand our private information, our private data. This, I mean, they're harvesting our data so much, it's absolutely incredible. And this is what we mentioned before. This is what the DSOR thing is. It's like accessing your data and wanting to know what data they're holding on you, and you can use it against them. You know, it's very powerful if you word it correctly. Just on that point as well, funnily enough, I was dealing with a case today, and point blank, you know, these people that do ignore the DSORs. I was dealing with this one, and you know, these people, funnily enough, you know, they tell lies. You know, so that the banks that what they do is when you've got the loan with the bank and you refuse to pay, you stop paying, then eventually they say, oh, we're going to sell the loan. They don't sell the loan. They will close the loan down. They will close your account down. They've got insurance for you not paying the repayment anyway, so they're going to get the money again. Then what they'll do is they'll write your bad debt off against their taxes, so they make an extra profit there, and then they will sell your data. All right, so they'll make a big block of it. So you know, we say, oh, only 5,000. They're not going to bother selling that. They put it in blocks, and I have seen with my own eyes the websites that they go on. There was a guy who was doing credit correction, you know, for your credit score.
Yeah.
And he was showing how they sell it on these websites, very similar to, like, you know, an auction site. All right. So they put it in a block. So to make your goes in and everyone else's to make $1 million. So they sell that on there. £1 million goes for 10 grand. So some scumbag buys it for 10 grand, and then they divide it up into the geographical areas and then start attacking you with all of these horrible letters. Most people panic and pay it straight away, or make an agreement to pay monthly or something like that. Just pure profit machines. Now, but they're not allowed to do that. You see, what they have to have is what they call a deed of assignment. Now, it all comes under the Law of Property Act because it's a deed, all right? And it's just the way that they've done it. Okay, so it's nothing to do with a house, you know, if it's just got a bank loan or anything, but it still has a deed. And there has to be a deed of assignment. Now, the actual court case that I'm dealing with now, they said, oh, yeah, we sent the deed of assignment, and they never. So, well, when you send a deed of assignment, right, then it has to be done by recorded delivery, Royal Mail, if you're in the UK, Royal Mail recorded delivery to you, which then you have to sign for. Okay, so that would be proof that they had done what they had said. But they never do it because they haven't got a deed of assignment. It takes too long and it's too complicated. They just sell the data. All right. And then they said on the same document, the court document, and anyway, we don't have to show you the deed of assignment because it's confidential.
Yeah.
Well, we've got case law that shows that you can redact the confidential bit, but you've got to send the bits that relate to us on our data. You've got to. That's the law. And they just say, oh, we don't have to. You know, and that is like the Law of Property Act 1925, Section 136, and it can be redacted to hide, you know, their confidential information. It's just another ridiculous lie that they say. So, you know, and this is the way that we have to be dealing with people and fighting this war. It's gonna be happening on big scales if you try and get yourself involved in it, you know. But that's what you have to do. Everybody has to do their little bit. You know, and, you know, we can help you. That's what we're here for, passing on the news, passing on the information. And we're going to have links in the description as well, where you'll be able to get, you know, a hold of like Gavin, a hold of myself, and find out a little bit more about what's on offer and how you can help yourself fight this war. Because, you know, we're trying to recruit other people to help fight it as well, and go out there and push the boundaries and try and bring down this matrix that we're under. We need to smash the veil. Yeah,
absolutely right. Yeah, end the illusion, right? End the illusion for everybody. The illusion's ended for us, likely you guys watching it, but we got to help end it for everybody. And as soon as we do that, it's over. That simple, really.
Because, you know, if you ever seen the film The Wizard of Oz, all right, I like to cross-reference that quite a lot. And now you can see that there's things happening where that they are struggling, but because they're struggling, I'm talking about like these evil, you know, the unseen evil that's there, and they tell the governments what to do. All right, so Doris, you know, he hasn't got a clue. All right, you know, he doesn't know his arse from his elbow, right? But like, so he's running, spilling out all of these lies and everything like that. You know, I mean, it's coming to the point where I just think they don't care anymore. You know, that you would never have gotten away with it like years and years ago, what they're getting away with now. And I think a lot of it is desperation. They're just throwing everything at us because the veil is getting thinner. More and more people are realizing something wrong here, you know. And if you look on the Wizard of Oz, little Toto, which is the dog, he's pulling that curtain back to show the wizard behind the curtain who's pretending to be it's just a little old guy behind the curtain pretending to be a magic, powerful wizard. And this is exactly what we're in now. So we've got these governments and elites, and they all think that they're massively powerful, or they're putting that projection onto us. So there's your illusion, right? That's the hologram we're living in. And it's breaking now. We've got a little dog pulling a curtain back so we can see that they're absolutely worthless and nothing.
Absolutely agree. And basically, guys, now's the time. Now's the time to do it. Don't wait. Get involved. Start learning. And if it is council tax, etc., I'm happy to help you. That's the purpose of doing this stuff. Passing on that knowledge of what actually works, what actually gets the results, so then others can learn it. You then pass it on, and so on and so forth. It becomes a big snowball, like a tsunami, right? That's what we've got to do.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, when you're doing anything like this, and a lot of people get scared, like, and like, oh, well, what if I'm going to do this and I'm going to get bailiffs and everything like that? I'm going to do another chat, hopefully later on in the week, with a guy called Dave, who is like a peace constable. Now, I was speaking to him last night, and it was a great chat. And he done a video as well. I put it up on YouTube, and he got a call as a peace constable from a lady that was getting hassled. I can't remember. It was one of the energy companies trying to break into a house to put in a prepayment meter. Now, I don't care what anyone says, right? You cannot not warrant, whatever you want it. You cannot break into someone's house. Okay, now we can go on about the case laws about it, right? But he actually got on the speakerphone. She had rang him, Dave, this woman, and he was telling them, the laws, or statutes, whatever way you want to look at it. And they were like quite cocky, very aggressive, and seemed to be, again, just bullies, right? Being aggressive to this woman. But he says, well, look, I'm on my way. I'll be there in about 5 minutes. And he did. He went along, and they literally ran away. All
Amazing.
right. Because the thing is, they know they're doing wrong. All right. They know they're not allowed to go and break into a house and threaten people. I don't care if you've got a warrant. And this is the thing with the warrants as well. Right. You mentioned this before, Gavin, but when they're getting these magistrates' warrants, right, for a civil matter. Magistrates is a criminal court. Magistrates is, a criminal offence, what they would put as an offence. So that's where you go to a magistrate's court for. It's got nothing to do with an energy company or your gas bill or your electric bill or council tax for that matter. So that should be making you, maybe you didn't know that, but now you do. Look, if it's a civil matter, you owe a debt, allegedly, all right? You haven't paid your gas bill, your council bill, anything like that is a civil matter and has to be dealt with the county court. If you've went and like robbed something or speeding even or anything like that, then it would go into a magistrate's court. That is what they would have, what they call a criminal offence. You haven't committed a criminal offence by not paying your gas bill, by them hiking the prices up so far that you either heat your house or buy food. All right. So it's not a crime. So they've got a fake warrant.
Yep.
It's a fake fraudulent warrant.
Yep.
So no way you're going to let them into your house, and you don't have to. So again, there's another guy I'm going to try and get him on. He said he would come on, and that's Bob White. And he won his case this year and against the police when they tried to, they did charge him with causing a fray. Okay, so this is the story. What he was again in dispute, and it's just a financial dispute. So talking about a payment dispute. So they had a warrant to repossess his house, but this is the bailiffs have the warrant. It's got nothing to do with the police, but the police decided that they would smash into his door, break his door down, right, with them big battering ram things. When he tried to put the panel back in the door, right, they shot him with a taser twice.
I heard about this. Yeah.
Then they broke into the house, right? Punched him in the head twice, right? He's bleeding from his face, not a mark on anybody, all these police on him, and then they charge him with a fray. Oh, it's disgusting. And obviously just ridiculous.
Is he the guy that recent case law has been come from? Because he basically won, right? Which basically says they cannot use force to enter your home.
And no warrant gives authority to force entry into the home.
Yeah.
Right. So there, and obviously, and what the judge had said was, right, that it doesn't matter that he was a police officer, actually a sergeant. As soon as he's gone into there, he's a trespasser and he's an unwanted intruder, and you have the right to defend yourself and your property. Right? It doesn't matter if it's a policeman or whatever. As soon as they step out of their oath, they are nothing but an intruder and can be dealt with accordingly. So, you know, if obviously we know that people spying on us and stuff like that, but beware, you know, more and more people are getting this knowledge, knowing what you are allowed and not allowed to do, right? And you definitely are allowed to defend yourself. And if you're taken into the castle doctrine, on the castle doctrine. So if you imagine it, a man's home is his castle, a castle doctrine, and it's a maxim in law, and it states that if you feel like under threat, all right, and fear of your life, then you can defend yourself and your property with any force up to and including lethal force. Okay, so intruders, beware. You know, you're not going to get away with it too easily for much longer, you know.
I think with Bob as well, I mean, it's a great example of that kind of united approach to this. Like he was on his own in that situation, right? He's pushing back and saying, I'm not paying anymore. What happened, and he's wrong. But if he didn't do that in the first place, we wouldn't have this recent case law that categorically says they cannot force entry.
That's true, yeah.
So it's that kind of, you know, you individually, you may think like you're not making any difference, but if we all individually do these things, we are having an effect. It's not even we are having an effect, and it will change things.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point to make. Yeah, so you know, everybody has to do their own little bit, and then you know, niggling away at the system. It's like, you know, the old saying when it says you might not be scared of one bee, but when there's a swarm of bees coming at you, then you know you're gonna get stung to death. So you are going to be worried about it, and that's what we want to be. We want to be that swarm of bees and going for them, because, in my opinion, this whole matrix, right? This hologram that we're actually living in is going to collapse.
I agree.
You know, and when everyone's talking about, like, you know, this great reset and now Klaus Schwab is going on it, they are not going to get the things their way, you know. So when I was talking about before as well, like on protecting yourself, just thinking about Klaus Schwab, he was saying you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, the best way to own nothing and be in control of everything and be happy is to put everything that we have into a private trust. Okay, so everything that you exist in, everything that you have a look at yourself is all trusts, by the way. Everything is set up as trusts. You just don't realize it. You know, even loans, when you're going in, and we mentioned before, that is a trust situation. You are the settlor or the creator. The bank itself is the trustee, and you are also the beneficiary. There's the triangle, right? So everything is a trust, but you can put your possessions, your assets, whatever you want to call it, into a private trust, and you create that private trust, and you are not the owner, right? The legal title owner will lend, or holder, I should say, will be the trustees, and they look after your whatever's granted or settled, right? Settle or grantor, depends which country you're from, into the trust. So you settle this asset into the trust, and then it's in the hands of the trustees, who maintain it, look after it. If it, whatever it would be, if it was investments, it's their job to make sure the investments grow, all that type of stuff. But you don't own it, so nobody can take it from you. You see? So rather than trying to say, oh, everything's mine, my name's and everything, if your name isn't on your house, but it's in a trust, then they can't come and take it. You know, if you haven't paid your council tax, for instance, you know, like you were saying that woman before, then they couldn't have bankrupted her and tried to take the house, because it's protected.
And you can put yourself in a trust, can't you?
Yeah, it's the whole thing is it's all about property. Anything that is property can be put into a trust. Property. So your actual body, that can get put into a private trust and protect it. So your body is protected. Your DNA, is your DNA your property? Well, it's definitely my property, right? No one else can have it, right? So I am not going to allow anyone else to have it or change it. You know what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah,
right. So you can put these things into private trusts. Now we have examples of people putting their fingerprints and putting their eye scans into private trusts so that no one can have them. Who would want them? Well, we know a few people that would want them, all right, in different situations. So we don't allow them to have it because, well, that doesn't belong to us. It's in a private trust. And you can only have them if you have the signed agreements by all of the trustees.
And so if you're in a private trust yourself, and let's just say this matrix didn't end, let's just say we're going to carry on. To the layman, if I'm in a private trust, what does that really mean for me? How am I protected?
You as your body, or the whole aspect of it?
Let's say it's me as my body. You know, I've got the house. Everything's gone in this trust. What does that now mean for me and my existence within the matrix?
Well, the thing is that there's a lot of different case law in this, so I'm not going to go over all the case laws. I did a video on loads of case laws the other day. I will do one on about the trusts, but everything is about privacy. Okay, so we're talking about like equity here. This is what the trusts that we do, or the trusts that I'm talking about, I should say, are common law equitable trusts, and they're called irrevocable. So when you're setting them up, it means they can keep going forever. So the trust itself, that is what gets passed on. Say, for instance, you know, I've set mine up in trust and everything is in this trust. So I am the beneficiary, but I have the beneficiary to go like after me, the default beneficiary, which will go to when I die, or I say when me and Janine die, then it'll go to the next beneficiary, the default beneficiary. But it's the trust that goes to them, not the individual property, you see. So if you were writing out a will, for instance, and you're writing out in your will, you know, I'm going to leave 20 grand to Fred, and I'm going to leave the house to Joe, all right, then they'll have to take responsibility for that individual item. But when you're inheriting a trust, as in you are the beneficiary, and it just passes to you through default beneficiary, then that trust then is you're the beneficiary. You get the benefits of the trust, i.e. if it was a property, you could actually have the beneficial use of it. You can live in that property, all right, but you wouldn't be the commercial owner, to put it that way.
Yep.
So they can attack you for it. Now it's all about privacy. You see, like J.D. Rockefeller, he used hundreds of trusts, and it was everything that he had was in trusts, and all of everything that got passed down to his family, his sons and everything that rule all of this, right? But nobody knew who got what because it was all in trusts. So they can't find anything. And JP Getty was another one. I mean, everything got put into trusts. So when it was passed on, nobody knew what it was worth because nobody got to know anything. It's all about being private. So this is why we need to really get our head around being a trustee as well, because it's a very, very special position. Mainly, it's about being private and having the audacity and the knowledge to stand up to a challenge by anybody from outside of the trust when they say, we need to know everything about the trust. Sorry, you don't. It's private. It's nothing to do with you. I don't care if you're the HMRC or the policeman or anything. This is a private trust. Everything in it is private. That is the benefit, and that is the difference. So anything that you've got in that trust, be it you or your property, everything is completely protected.
And it's the ultimate remedy, isn't it? Really.
In a lot of ways, it is. I mean, all you have to do is learn from the ones that I'm talking about, like the Rockefellers and the Gettys and the Rothschilds and everything. Try and find out anything about them.
Yeah, I've tried, but you can't.
No, because everything's private. Like even the Bar Association, right? They run the legal system. So under the legal system, right, the legal society, this is where you get your criminal offences from. This is your acts and your statutes, which is never law, can't be law. It can only be acts and statutes. Okay, which is rules, company rules. You abide by the company rules, and you have to consent to those rules. All right, but that society itself, the bar, it's a private members association. All right, so everything that you see, right, and all these clubs that all of these MPs and everything belong to, they're all private members associations. That's why they can do whatever they want. Acts and statutes do not apply to a private members association. And statutory legislation does not apply to a private trust. When you set up a private trust, you set up what's commonly known as a common law private trust or an expressed one, then you state the laws, you express the laws, the rules will be yours. All right. So it's got nothing to do. It's not a statutory trust where there's certain limitations and you have to do the legal society thing. On a private trust, then it's private. So this is what we need. Keeping our private business private. That's exactly what it's for. And keeping ourselves private, keeping ourselves in the private. That's what it's all about.
And how long does it take to set up a trust like that?
I mean, it takes time to do all the paperwork and everything like that, but it can be done relatively quickly. I mean, the first thing that you do with an express trust is you express it verbally. I have a private trust. There, it's done. Okay. That is the simple truth. But obviously, you need to be able to actually prove that in some way. And that's why we've done the documentation so that we actually prove it by Royal Mail tracking numbers, so we can have the deeds created, do the postal mechanics on it, so we get the post office date stamps as well. Nobody can lie that we did that. And then also you get it delivered to yourself with the tracking number, and you track it all. Just print up all the proof, so you're expressing it. And we also express it, even though it's private trust, we express it publicly via newspapers as well. But all it's saying is a private trust was created. All right. And if you need details or inquire about it, there's an email address. You're not telling them anything about it because it's private. But you're just stating that it was created. That's the expression. So you can do it within a couple of weeks.
Wow. I mean, basically, we just got to do what the elites do, right? Protect ourselves.
Exactly. So you protect yourself, protect your assets from that. Stop them stealing it, really. At the end of the day, right? If you look at it this way, when you come in and you want to go to bed at night, you make sure you've got all your doors locked, don't you? All right. So if you've got windows downstairs, you're not going to leave them wide open and invite all the burglars in. You're going to protect your assets. You don't want anyone coming and hurting you or stealing anything from you. And it's the same type of thing, really. So we're going to close our doors from the nosy neighbors, the government, right? But if you think about it, like we're going into this war, right? And it is a spiritual war, and we have to go and stand and fight by challenging, mortgages and council tax and things. So the only way that they can try and hurt us is by attacking our property. So we're going to give you armor. So when you're going to go out there, if you've got your swords and your shields and everything, it's pointless running into battle without anything. You're not going to go running in there, with a little feather and try and tickle them to death. So we're going to give you a big shield, and on the shield, then you're going to get a helmet and armor. So you put your armor on before you go to battle. That would probably be the easiest way of explaining it. Get yourself in the private, right? Declare yourself as a private Iron Man. Then get the private trust set up, so it's going to protect your assets. Transferring all of anything that's got a name on should be in the trustee, not your name. Okay, so then it's literally on paperwork that the trustee is there, not you, not me. Peter has got this car, this house. It says trustee. All right, so you're protecting yourself. You're putting your armor on. You're putting your shield up. You're putting your helmet on. All these things, and you can put a trust inside of a trust inside of a trust, which we're going to do. We're looking at building like a community trust. So once you set your private trust up, you put your private trust in the community private trust, right?
So you get extra layers of protection.
That's exactly it. So you got your moat, right, around your castle. Then you build your wall up, right, and then you get your tower, all right, and you make sure it's at the top of a hill. So it's all just about protecting it. So you get all that armor on, and then you can go out and fight the good fight and going against, the evil that we've actually been surrounded with for thousands of years.
Absolutely. So there you go, folks. Go do it. Go get your trust. Go push back. Say no. Stop paying. Learn what to do to fight, and let's take it all down.
So listen, then, everyone. What we'll do is I'm going to put all the links, all right, in the description. So you can go into there and I'll put it in for like Gavin's links. Go in and watch his YouTube channel, get all the links to get help, and you can talk to him that way. And the same for myself, all of the going private. You want the private documents, and they are completely free as well. You can actually declare yourself private. We call it a lawful notice and demand. It's a pretty big document, but you're going to tell the government that you're alive. Under the Set of KV Act 1666, it says that you have to declare yourself alive. So this, and it's all free. Download it, print it up, and send it off to them. And then all the other links there for like smashing the debts and getting the trust started and everything will all be going in there as well. So just before we go, any final words there, Gavin?
I think basically, thank you for your time, and guys, thank you for listening to what I've got to say. I just think, really, in summary, as I say, now's the time. Stand up. Let's learn what we've got to do and go do it. Let's take this matrix down.
Brilliant, brilliant. All right, well, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Great to share and get the word out. So everybody, all right, check out the links in the description. Make sure that you like it, put some comments on, and share the subscribe to the channel and share the video with friends and family and everything as well. Okay. Until the next time, thank you very much. You take care now.
Appreciate it. Bye bye.